let's not forget that in 1942, during World War II, quote unquote, Skinner versus Oklahoma. You know, probably not the same as B.F. Skinner, probably not related, I don't know. I'm not going to take the time to figure it out. But anyway, complicated, actually probably is the same. I'll put it in the comments. Complicated this legal situation by ruling against sterilization of criminals if the equal protection clause of the Constitution was violated. That is, if sterilization was to be performed, then it could not exempt white-collar criminals. Now ask yourselves, why would they exempt white-collar criminals? Because these were a bunch of ninny, elitist fucking scum and their prestigious college pussy fucking friends. They're like, look, we're the worst criminals. We got to make it so that we just sterilize the poor people who, are trying to make ends meet, selling drugs and stealing and whatnot. But us rich people who have no business stealing at all, who are so greedy we can't help ourselves, who are mass murdering eugenicist dogs, we should be exempt. And they have a little trouble. Why? Because eugenics is starting to be sterilized during World War II. Remember, World War II started in 1939, ended in 1945. Around 1942, they're starting to catch wind of, the concentration camps toward the end of the war. And they've heard of Hitler's arguments, Mein Kampf and whatnot. Now dig this. Most sterilization laws could be divided into three main categories of motivations. Eugenic, concern with hereditary. Therapeutic. And you people sit there like mental health has nothing to do with this. I try to point out those several groups, and you'd be very surprised it had everything to do with this. One was the liberal progressive types. One was women. And one was mental health. Anyway, therapeutic, based on the idea that sterilization could cure one of sexual traits such as masturbation or pedophilia. Isn't that funny how that works? How porn is a huge industry now, and pretty much everybody masturbates. The studies show that upwards of 90% of men masturbate. But yet they're like, oh, we're going to try to cure people of these sexual traits. Putting masturbation in the same category as pedophilia. You got to realize that shrinks have been historically stuck on stupid. And this is during the time period when they said we made such great advancements in the psych wards, and we used to think that they were possessed by devils, and now we treat them so well, we understand them so well that we put masturbation in the same category as pedophilia, and we've been sterilizing them and using shrinks to do it until 1981. Well after World War II. Well after it. I was alive in 1981. That's how much after World War II was. But anyway. Or punitive, as punishments for criminals. And that's where you get the white-collar criminal exemption problem in 1942. I mean, this shit is just wow. You just don't get it. So the eugenicists E.S. Gosney and Paul B. Papineau were people that Hitler praised. The government of Adolf Hitler said that they were of key importance in proving that large-scale compulsory sterilization programs were feasible. Now, Hitler sterilized hundreds of thousands of people, but you never hear about that. That's not highlighted because we don't want to, America doesn't want you to think about, what Hitler was actually doing. They want you to just say, oh, he put Jews in concentration camps. They don't want you to connect it to eugenics. They don't want you to connect it to sterilization. They don't want you to connect it to mental health. Because then you'd see that, there's Nazi science pretty much still going on. This kind of Masonic, Jew-led secret society structure and Nazi science at the same time. But yeah, I just wanted to cover that, even here, it's interesting because right here on Wikipedia, just like in Adam Cohen's book, Imbeciles, it said that 148 female prisoners in 2 California institutions were sterilized between 2006 and 2010 in a supposedly voluntary program, but it was determined that the prisoners did not give consent to the procedures. In September 2014, California enacted Bill SB 1135 that bans sterilizations in correctional facilities unless the procedure shall be required in a medical emergency to preserve inmates' lives. And of course, this is an ongoing battle because of Nashville. 5 years, a year after that bill passed, inmates were still being coerced into being sterilized. You got to realize that one of the main things the history of eugenics shows is an ongoing attempt by a powerful group of rich people with old money and privilege and all that to find ways around the law and to sterilize people. I mean, and to do eugenics on people. This is something that started before Galton. Galton coined the term and created the quote-unquote scientific justification for it, because he won all these awards and from France and England and all this, and then they let all hell loose in 1907. So, in 1942, there was complications. In 1897, when they first tried to pass it, there was complications. And the eugenicists kept coming back. They kept coming back. They're hell-bent, as the saying goes. They kept coming back. They said, oh, you're going to stop us? We're going to find a way around it. They find a way around it. They start sterilizing a bunch of people, doing eugenics. People catch up to them. They find a way around it. They call, social biology, social protection, biodemography, and so on and so forth. Social Darwinism. They changed the names. Planned Parenthood, right? The American Birth Control League, American Eugenics Society, people. They changed it. Planned Parenthood, eugenics, and people just don't get it. Okay, fucking scum. These people are fucking scum. The Board of Social Protection. You see how they always have made it about, we're trying to keep you safe. I mean, this is way before 9/11, right? 20 years before 9/11, they were calling it the Board of Social Protection. Now, I will now assert to you, do you ever think that maybe 9/11 was more than just about oil? It was about infrastructure, technology, and eugenics. In order for eugenics to work, the people who have a philosophy of science, quote unquote, need to address their main opposition, which historically was religious people, specifically from the Abrahamic faiths. The major outcries against eugenics were Catholics. Okay? It was a bunch of, Masonic Protestants. Now you look at the Protestant movement and how it contributed droves of members to the Masonic lodges, you understand why the Catholic Church passed an edict against eugenics, or it passed a decree against eugenics, and it passed a decree, an order that the Pope, different popes passed an order against Masonry at different periods of time. Not in that order. Actually, I believe the Masonry decrees or orders came first, and then later on, I think it was during the 40s or so, or the 30s or something like that. The Pope, I forgot which one it was. I used to know it off the top of my head. Put it in the comments. He passed, a decree or an order or whatever, a papal decree or whatever, against eugenics. So the major opposition to these liberal, progressive, quote-unquote scientists were always religious people. So now they are neutralizing the opposition. So all these scientific Mason scumbags in the government, they've shown their true colors. This is not up for debate. The enemies of humanity on record, the oppressors, are Masons who have a scientific lodge, and the one over there in England, at the what was it, the Lions Inn or whatever the fuck it was, in Cambridge, gave, Galton his degrees and his certificates. This is on record. There's no debate here. The religious, the Christian, the Abrahamic faiths, the guys who are true Christians, who put their foot down, who weren't some kind of namby-pamby fucking fake Christian, whether they're Catholics or otherwise. They weren't some kind of secret society influenced fucking pussy controlled Christian, but real Christians were the main opposition to the New World Order and the eugenicists. And eugenics is key in the New World Order. It goes hand in hand with Masonry. I mean, it's like, it's a no fucking brainer here. You know? The only real revolutionaries are Christians, and history has proven that time and time again. Everything else is some kind of bootlicking fucking, you know, controlled opposition movement from the elite, right from them. Bunch of gay Masons funding the gay movement. Gay Jews and gay Masons funding the gay movement on record. Gloria Steinem-ass fucking Jewish feminists fucking from the upper rich class, you know, from the privileged class, you know, pushing and funding the feminist movement on record. Bunch of fucking rich yuppies, you know, college graduate ninny fucking pussies who the newspapers publish their shit, you know, Marx and fucking Engels on record on behalf of the Jewish fucking, you know, clandestine ninnies pushed communism. And the Masons, lo and behold, you know, gave the Bolsheviks their rise in Russia. Controlled opposition movements. And what is atheism? But, you know, how did atheism get its movement? It got from communists. Well, you think it's a coincidence that feminism is making all this progress, and one of the main forms of feminism is Marxist feminists? You know, and that these gays who are attacking Christian are atheists and atheistic Satanists? You think that's a coincidence? Where do you think this atheist movement is getting all of its juice from? All of its momentum? From a bunch of commies, and therefore they are controlled opposition by default and certainly by association. By logical association. By correct association. You just don't get it, do you? You just don't. You know, you think that I'm some fucking Christian fanatic that fucking just wants to take advantage of what's going on and make it seem like Christianity is the truth. The facts are the facts. There's no way around it. And all these people, they you know why they don't even try to argue with me? They know that I'm right. What are they going to say? Most of them don't know history anywhere near as well as I do. And the ones that do know that I'm fucking right. So what are they going to do? They can't do nothing. They got to sit there and take it like the little effeminate ninnies they are. Take it, you pussies. How the fuck do you like that, motherfucker? What the fuck are you gonna do, you pussies? You cowards from the opposite. What the fuck is a bitch like you gonna do? But take it. Like a good little bitch. Punk ass motherfuckers.